While opponents of intelligent design like to misrepresent the ID evolution debate as one in which religion attempts to undercut science, the debate is actually deeply grounded in philosophy. The controversy is not science versus religion so much as metaphysical naturalism versus the search for truth. Contemporary philosopher Alvin Plantinga has argued that evolutionary naturalism is logically incoherent. In the journal Science and Theology, he suggests that the term science denotes an activity that is, number one, a systematic and disciplined enterprise aimed at finding out truth about our world, and number two, has a significant empirical involvement. Any activity that meets these two conditions counts as science. Now, he concludes, if you exclude the supernatural from science, then if the world or some phenomenon within it are supernaturally caused, as most of the world's people believe, you won't be able to reach that truth scientifically. Scientific or methodological naturalism is a philosophical position which argues that all phenomenon can be explained in terms of natural causes and laws. Theism has nothing to fear from this form of naturalism. Actually, it was codified into the scientific method by a Christian monk, Sir Francis Bacon. It encourages tenacity in scientific research and erases the images of angry gods in volcanoes or thunderclouds. The philosophy of scientific naturalism has helped scientists to push past superstition and find viruses that cause illnesses. Methodological or scientific naturalism is a prudent position in which to begin scientific investigation. Many people who are scientific naturalists are also metaphysical naturalists. They believe that nature is all that there is, and there's no reality outside of the natural realm. Metaphysical naturalism takes an ontological approach to naturalism. Ontology is a branch of metaphysics that studies being, and so this is the view that says the supernatural does not exist, which is atheism. While methodological naturalism is productive, when it's translated into an excuse for metaphysical naturalism, it is a barrier to the search for truth. It is one thing to say that a good scientist needs to find a natural explanation for things, and quite another thing to say that nature is all that there is. Unfortunately, too many scientists in the universities have gotten scientific naturalism confused with metaphysical naturalism. In today's universities, science students are taught that they must be philosophical naturalists in order to be good scientists. If they don't know the answers to the questions why and how in nature, they need to research until they find the natural explanation. To do otherwise is cheating. For instance, if they get stuck on the question, why does the wind blow? It's not scientific to say, well, it blows because God makes it blow. That's giving up. They are taught that a good scientist needs to keep hunting until a natural explanation is found. Now, of course, this makes sense. But this is a long way from metaphysical naturalism, which is being promoted by the atheistic evangelists such as Richard Dawkins and Daniel Dennett. Consider that most of the founders of the major scientific disciplines were theists. Their belief in a rational creator is what inspired their research. For if one does not believe there are rational laws governing the universe, one will not search for them. In his book, Science in the Modern World, Alfred North Whitehead concludes that faith in the possibility of science is an unconscious derivative from medieval theology. The belief in a rational creator God is the foundation of scientific inquiry.
Ladies and gentlemen, The story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
The origins debate is a lot like a crime scene. Let's say a man is found hanging in a warehouse with his mouth gagged and his arms tied behind his back. Now let's examine the philosophical positions of the crime scene investigators and determine how they handle the crime scene. And let's see who is best suited to find the truth. The scientific naturalist says we have to use the things we have available in the room in order to determine the cause of this man's death. The metaphysical naturalist says, yes, and only the things in this room can be considered as the cause of his death. We can see no murderer in the room, therefore, the man must have killed himself. The intelligent design advocate says, we can use the things in the room to argue that somebody murdered this man. We can't say who, but his tied hands and gagged mouth indicate that he was murdered. The creationist says, we believe this man was murdered, and we know who murdered him because he wrote us a letter describing the threat. The physicist says, there are many more rooms outside of this one. We're busy trying to find the door. The person of faith says, we already found the door. So who's in the superior position here? It depends on what's actually outside of the room. The intelligent design advocate is not necessarily religious. He's simply a scientist willing to believe there's more to the universe than what can be found in the warehouse. He's willing to follow the evidence where it leads. Contrary to the current trend in modern science, the metaphysical naturalist doesn't have the scientific upper hand. In fact, he's the one who is not in a position to follow the evidence where it leads. If there's really no world outside the warehouse, well, he's certainly in the best position. Yet, if the metaphysical naturalist philosophy is wrong, he's going to spend his life fruitlessly trying to prove that a murdered man killed himself and inventing all sorts of nonsense to support it. While the modern atheist puts on airs burning straw men and drawing caricatures of theistic scientists, the intellectual snobbery is more indicative of a denial neurosis than a superior frame of reference. After all, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that God exists.